Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to show you guys a few plugins for fixing skies and like your midtones. Thought they worked pretty well, so let me show you how they work. So here we have a outdoor shot, and the main thing is sort of the skyline. Now there's a few things you can do with this. Normally you can bring down some of the contrast, maybe raise the mids, but I wanted to show you just a kind of a quick fix here. One of the plugins I wanted to show you was Dehaze. So under the Revolve Effects color, I just typed in Dehaze. We're going to drop that on and watch what it does. This kind of gives it some extra saturation and really deepens the blue up here. And there are some parameters you can change on this, including picking where your haze is. So if you double click this picker here, you can actually pick it from the screen. Now, of course, it already did a conversion on it, but if we bring the blend down, sort of put it back to normal, bring the picker out and grab your color selector, and we'll choose like right up here in the skyline and say OK, and then adjust the global blend back. You can see what that does. Now you can do that with just adjusting, like if we look at the scopes here, let's just change the global blend and show you what it's doing. So you can see we're bringing the gamma down quite a bit, and we're bringing the blues up in the peak. And then we have some shadow control and some highlights. And then we have like an overall strength knob. So just something to consider. Sometimes that midpoint is hard to get. Now this might be oversaturated. The blacks might be a little bit low. But for just a drag and drop kind of solution from looking like that, you can see it adds a pretty good amount of depth to it. Now I'm going to go ahead and reset this node. And I grabbed a depth map, and this is set to better. You can actually control just the items you're looking for in this shot. So I'll go ahead and delete this, and we'll look up depth map again and just drag it into the node area. And I'm going to hit shift, and that's going to highlight here, and I'll release. And now it's in the pipeline. It's on better by default, and we have depth map preview, which is showing us what it's looking at. So let's turn that on. And how this works is things that are closer are going to be lighter in color on the depth map, and things that are further away are going to be darker. And you can adjust these. This is just what it happens to see by default here. So let's turn on adjust map levels. And now if we move far limit or near limit, we can make the near stuff a lot brighter. We can actually refine the gamma range to kind of split the difference between the two. And then we have isolate specific depth. So this really works if you're trying to like pull something, maybe there's a person in the shot, something like that. So now if we look, if we turn off this depth map, we got the water line here, we got this bridge, we got the buildings in the middle, and then we kind of got the farther part of the shot here. So let's go back to preview. And now you can see if we move the depth, wherever it's white is where it's going to affect. So let's say we wanted this section in the middle to be left alone. We can now hit invert, and we're going to be affecting all this white area and leave this spot in the middle alone. So I'll turn off the depth map preview. I'm going to leave this alone, and I'm just going to over exaggerate this to show you what it's actually doing. So see if I raise this up, see how in the middle, like this is like the safe zone, wherever this black area is. So if you're looking to manipulate just a section, the depth map also does a very good job here, where if we wanted to maybe saturate it a little bit more in the background, sort of like that, but now we're leaving the middle characteristics alone. So it looks more like this. So that might be a bit of a more natural way to do that. So that is the Dehaze. And now I wanted to show you another one on the second shot here. This one just kind of has that whitish mid blowout, what I would consider the gamma. So if we lowered the gamma on this shot, it's going to look a little more contrasty and robust. But if you're looking for a way to do that, we do have contrast pop as well. So we type in contrast pop and bring that down. There's an amount of detail and some thresholds. Now you'll notice it sort of softens the image a little bit, especially if we go detail amount. You can see it really softens out the background, or if we go forward, it's going to over contrast it where it just doesn't look right. But you can find like a middle ground here, and then there's detail size you can change. there's a low threshold. You could see that changing in the scope and like say in the shadows here. And then we have a high threshold, which is going to sort of soften up the brighter parts of the image, and then the global blend. So the contrast pop's pretty cool depending on how you want to use it. You could isolate it on something as well. So if you only wanted the contrast pop on, say, this TV or something, you could qualify this with a highlight and maybe just get this, maybe choose the TV. And now if we were to mess with that, it really makes that stand out. So that's another one. And another example is some banding on like 8-bit footage. So here we have this glider shot, and you can see the little gradation lines here. Might be a little harder to see on YouTube, but if we zoom in, you can see where the image is starting to fall apart as the gradation occurs. We might be able to exaggerate this a little bit more with color. So maybe add in a contrast curve. You could really see this nasty line coming in here. And this is typical of 8-bit footage. It's just sort of how it works. Now I did bump the qualifier, so it's looking at this blue channel. Well, how would you get rid of that? I mean, that looks pretty bad, but if you're trying to dial in a certain look and you don't want to add sort of the garbage in, let's go back here, and we have a tool called Deband. And I've used this before. So keep an eye on this little gradation area right near the glider, and it's going to soften the image a lot, but let's just look at what it does as we add it in. So it smooths those artifacts out, and you can display the edge where it's going to kind of give you a version of the depth map in a way. But then if we slide this around the edge threshold, you could see it softens that edge quite a bit. We can bring the radius up a little more. So see how that just sort of smooths out all that line. Now we're really being picky about it. We're really looking at it. But if I turn this on and off, or the deband at least, you can see all that breakup right here where the blocking occurs. And then if we hit a little post refine, I mean, it does soften the image, but if you're zoomed out, it makes it look quite a bit more natural. Obviously, this is exaggerated for this example, so we wouldn't have quite the contrast curve if we take our curve back and then even got rid of our deband. It's still there, but now you can see how soft it looks. And you can definitely tell when we look at the waveform here, if I turn this on and off, we go from a really pronounced kind of jagged value here to where we turn the deband on, and you can see how it just smooths it all out, makes it a little more natural looking. So once again, if we zoom it in and toggle our deband on and off, however, look what it's doing to the details of the glider here. So one fix you could do for that would be to isolate the glider and apply the deband to everything outside of that. So you could do that in a separate node if we did like a parallel node. So here's our first node, and what I did was add a node parallel. And so that's going to combine both these nodes and then mix them together with this nodule, the parallel mixer. So if we wanted to exclude this person in a safe area, we could actually just highlight him and then maybe get a better, there it's kind of safe. And then we have the deband going on this other node, and you can see that's still affecting. But if we zoom in, we're still getting the details on that glider. So just a couple tips there on that. Deband, dehaze, contrast pop, pretty cool. I've always had an issue with skylines where that middle gamma point is just kind of washed out. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below if you got a video idea you want me to tackle. Put it in there. Subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.